Hey guys, today we're gonna be reacting to.
The Invisible Wall. What the Netherlands reveals about belonging.
There's a thing about Dutch homes that doesn't take too long for one to notice. The no curtain phenomenon. You walk through different neighborhoods at night, floor to ceiling windows, open to the street. The light inside is warm. The whole life is visible. The bookshelves, the dinner table,
Everyone wears
even
clothes.
sometimes the family around it. And you are outside, and you can see everything. When I first noticed this, I read it as openness, as an invitation of some kind. And it made me curious, because the Dutch are also known widely by anyone who has ever tried as one of the most difficult social cultures in the world to actually enter. A window that is always open, but a door that takes years to unlock. What kind of culture builds both of those things into the same house?
That was shady.
That question is what I'm trying to
I don't think it's shady. It's just, what it is, I guess. I don't know.
An open window.
A window that's open, but a door that takes years to unlock. Something like that. It's just basically saying that people, they're like polite to you and cordial to you, but they're not going to be like your friends immediately. Like versus like Americans. They're like, oh, your friend, like they meet you and all of a sudden he's like your next best friend, versus like in Europe, it's more like they'll be like polite to you, cordial, but they're not gonna open up until like, after a while.
find answers to. Let me give you the setup. I am a freelancer. I work alone most of the time, and I moved to the Netherlands without a company behind me, without a team, without an office where friendships form through proximity and shared complaint. In most countries, the workplace.
Yeah, the thing is, as you get older, where do you really form friendships? It's like work and work. Like, I mean, I don't know if you go to like
Even at work is not even ideal to make friends, they say.
Yeah.
Because it creates a toxic work environment.
Yeah, because like as a kid going through school, you make friends, college, you make friends, universities, whatever. But once you graduate, that kind of it becomes really like difficult to make friends. You really like maybe like through hobbies if you have hobbies.
Yeah.
But do you have time for hobbies or are you too tired?
Do you have money for hobbies too?
Have money for hobbies too? So it's like as an adult, it's really hard to make friends.
That's why they talk about free third spaces, like where you can go to like socialize and be amongst community, but not having to pay for it.
Is the social scaffolding of sorts, where most adults use to build their world, and they don't fully realize it until it's gone. You sit next to someone long enough, you find out that they're human. Something real develops, and I arrived here without any of that. There's no network, there's no social history, there's no reputation that preceded me. And what I found interesting, what I became genuinely fascinated
Exciting
by,
thing when you go to some place new, you can reinvent yourself essentially.
Yeah, there's nothing about you. Yeah.
Even the people who did have all that, those expats with offices, with the teams, with built-in daily proximity to Dutch colleagues, they were describing the same experience. That is a kind of social distance that persisted despite proximity, a warmth that was genuine, but somehow stayed at arm's length. So I started asking questions, not because I was frustrated, though there were moments, but because the pattern was too consistent to ignore. Something structural was happening here, and I wanted to understand what it was.
Congrats on the new boat, Amy.
And on bundling it with your home and auto with our 24/7 protection.
In the 2026 World Happiness Report, the Netherlands ranked number 7 in the world, top 10 for over a decade. At the same time,
when was the study made?
Of Dutch residents over 15 report.
That's I think 2026. They do this yearly though.
Report feeling very lonely. Nearly 20% of people born outside the Netherlands report feeling very lonely, more than double the rate for native Dutch citizens. Across Europe, 57% of young people aged 18 to 35 are moderately or severely lonely, more than half. So here is the paradox that started this whole investigation. One of the world's happiest countries, one of its most reported loneliness rates among newcomers, both true at the same time. And the first thing I want to say is those two facts are not contradictions.
Because back in the day in college, we had social media, but then you had your friend groups that you have lunch together properly to talk and say what's going on, who you're interested in, and what's going on with your life. I don't know if that still goes on to this day because social media makes us connected, but do you really connect with someone just sending like one messages, or you connect more when you're in person and you can really, really read each other and understand each other better?
Yeah, it's hard to say because obviously
Mm-hmm.
we're not like in social circles with the kids right now,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-mm.
observing from a side without
Mm-hmm.
actually being in a circle, it does seem like the kids nowadays are just socially awkward.
Yeah.
Like they're very, yeah, like it's just weird to me that you have like these teenagers and they're not trying to date, they don't want to have sex, and like even like the thing as teenage pregnancy, I think that problem has gone away a long time ago, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of like back in the day it was a big problem. Maybe it's sex education, maybe. I don't know, but or
Mm-hmm.
maybe the kids just don't want to interact with each other, I don't know, because look at the birth rates too. All the birth rates are
Because
going down.
would be the time where you get to connect with the other sex is that through school dance
Yeah.
or social events,
Yeah, just school
mixers.
classes, like in
Yeah.
between classes, you hang out, you
Mm.
talk, school
Now it's like, oh, I'll
breaks.
send you a message, I'll text
Yeah,
you.
now let's
But you're,
let's link up on a video game.
mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Because I always feel like with my friends, if it's mostly I'm talking to them through text messages, like straight to the point. Because what you can have a conversation, long conversation on text message. So in person, when you talk to them, that's when you really can talk and really, really
Yeah.
develop something there.
They are clues. They are pointing at something about how happiness gets built in this particular culture and what that architecture looks like from the outside. So that is a thread that I want to pull. But before I get into the history and the science, I want to describe the texture of this thing accurately.
I don't know.
Because the popular description of it doesn't quite capture what it actually is. It's very easy to lean into the cold and unfriendly trope.
You know what
the
it
Dutch
seemed
people I have
like?
encountered.
There's he's like a sociologist and he's examining and study like relationships. This is what he comes across as.
Have been perfectly decent, often genuinely warm in conversation, helpful, they're honest. The phenomenon is more subtle than that. It's more like you notice that the warmth exists in a very specific contained radius. And outside that radius, there's a kind of social self-sufficiency that has no obvious gap for you to step into. People already have their lives, they have their circles, and those circles were built years, sometimes decades before you arrived.
Oh, I remember that some people complaining about this
just full
in Germany.
And what I kept wondering
like
was,
the fan groups are closed, like they're not taking no new friends, essentially.
I think maybe it's a more European phenomenon because I think here in the States, you just guys like travel overall, like to travel like from one state to another is like pretty common. Oh, I'm moving out to like from Boston to LA. I'm moving from New York to Miami. I'm moving from Atlanta to Tennessee to Memphis. It's like so common for people to get up and move versus I feel like in Europe, it's more so like you move maybe for like in Lithuania, like if you're from a small town, you go to like the capital city to study, and then either you probably end up staying there, and so that's the big move. But you still have that college period, university period, where you like the 4 years, 3 years to meet people and build that friend group. Versus here, because the country is so big, it's like, oh, I'm moving, to another city for work. It's like it's nothing. It's the moving is so much more acceptable. Not that it's not acceptable in Europe, but there's also like a gap in languages too, though. Because like legally you could get up from Lithuania and move to the Netherlands without any complications, but it's a different language though. Like Netherlands, like what, 96% speaking English, so you wouldn't have a problem necessarily either, but it's still like not. It's not the same though.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of like your grandma and how she established like a network of people that she's worked with, knows, and they're able to trade like their skill for something
like back in the
else.
Soviet Union.
Yeah, and that it's useful if we want to survive and go further. We have to, as a group, because we're able to trade these skills.
That's how the things were done back in the day. Like in the Soviet Union, everything was like done as a favor. Oh, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
And
it's
those,
like that.
I feel like how you maintain those relationships and they are able to be more lasting. So I can imagine someone new come in and you come into you're not like really offering anything. We don't know anything about you. I wonder. That's so interesting.
Where does that come from? Is it a personality trait? Is it a cultural choice? Or it's something older? Because when you look at it, not as a personal rejection, but as a phenomenon, it turns out that there's a very deep, very specific, very fascinating answer for it.
Historically, the Netherlands
You know,
has
I
received
miss
waves and
when
waves.
watches used to have that green.
Glow in the dark?
It's like you know how like Nokia, how you had the green and the
Yeah.
text is black,
Yeah.
and there's a classic like those
I
classic
know what you talk
watches,
about. The Timex, I think.
something like
Yeah.
this, like the old style.
Wave after new migrants coming in, and they each tell a different story. We've seen the Huguenots come in, and they were refugees, religious refugees from their own country, from France, fleeing to a country that was also Protestant. So the reception was easy. Also because the Dutch people at the time thought the Huguenots had something to offer, their wealth, their trade network, etc. So their reception has been assessed by a historian as a smooth one. Looking at another wave, I think the prime example is the reception of Turkish and Moroccan guest workers. The word speaks for itself. Those groups were seen as guests who in the end would have had to pick up their bags and go home. In the end, this didn't happen, but it was a reception based on economic need, but a temporary one.
Help, there's crunch in my Skittles and I'm feeling...
Maybe one other example, of course, the Dutch has had many colonial enterprises. And after the decolonization of Indonesia, a lot of people, migrants came over. And this was like a historic debt that we had to pay. So these people were also received differently and in different contexts. Moluccans, for example, they were promised the Dutch support to create their own nation state back in Indonesia.
Maybe like a subgroup from Indonesia. I'm not sure. I don't know who they are.
This never crystallized, this never happened, but their status was also seen as always temporary. But in the end, their story continued to be in the Netherlands a little longer too.
The thing that surprised me most when I started researching this is how far back the explanation goes. Most conversations about Dutch social culture stops at the behavior, the tight friendship circles, the long timelines, the diary culture, the sense that you can live next to someone for 2 years and still not quite know them. But the behavior is downstream of something that was built deliberately and structurally over generations. And once you see it, that behavior, it stops looking like a character flaw. It starts looking like an inheritance of sorts. From approximately 1917 to 1967, Dutch society formally organized itself into 4 separate pillars: Catholic, Protestant, Socialist, and Liberal. Each pillar had its own schools, hospitals, universities, newspapers, radio stations, sports clubs, shops, and political parties. And this is genuinely one of the most fascinating social experiments in modern European history. For roughly 50 years, that is 2 full generations, Dutch society ran on parallel tracks. A Catholic child in the Netherlands in 1940 went to a Catholic school. Their family read a Catholic newspaper. They played in a Catholic sports club. And when they fell sick, they went to a Catholic hospital. And their Protestant neighbor, who probably lived 2 streets over, perfectly civil, no animosity, lived an entirely parallel life. Same city, completely separate world. The formal goal of this system was to allow different religious and ideological groups to coexist peacefully, to give each community full expression without forcing them to compete. And
I would say it's a little bit similar here in the States, how like more like the political parties, they have their own TVs, their own newspapers, like their own radios that they listen to. They live very, like the Republicans, the Democrats, the two live very different lives from each other.
I see it more and more how they say that the US took a lot from Netherlands.
From their constitution. Yeah, because it's very similar.
Largely worked.
Now, I wouldn't go as far as hospitals. I don't think there's like a specific hospital that, oh, I'm not going to go to this hospital because they're Democratic hospital. I'm going to Republican hospital. I don't think it's that deep. But they are definitely, like, when it comes like TV, radio, newspaper, like all that is definitely a thing, yeah.
The Netherlands avoided the kind of religious and political violence that tore other European nations apart. But here's what I find fascinating about it from a social psychology standpoint. When you design a society that way, where trust, resources, and community all flow within your own pillar, what you're doing over 50 years is training people that belonging lives inside the circle, not outside it. And you're training 2 full generations before the system even ends. The pillars came down, but the social blueprints they wrote stayed. And what is remarkable to me from, well, a purely observational standpoint is how durable cultural software actually is. Official policy changes, laws change, the formal structures disappear. But the assumptions that got baked into the daily life, the unspoken rules about where trust belongs and how long you need to know someone before they are really in, those don't expire with policy. They get passed down, and this is by no means conscious or intentional, just through the texture of how parents live, how friendships are modeled, what a full life looks like. So when a Dutch person has a friendship group that has been together since secondary school and they're not really looking for any new members, they're not making a choice to exclude you. They are just operating on a social architecture that has been written before they were born. That realization for me changed the whole frame.
The formal structures of pillarization for sure are gone. I'd say so, but it could be that we still have a tendency to create friendships along lines of organizations. So even though my family doesn't go to the Catholic butcher anymore, I still make my friendship within organizations like my primary school or my high school or the study I chose. So
it's just the interesting. I feel like it's just human nature for people to divide themselves into groups. Even like in stressful situations where, let's say, a group of internationals, they go to the States and they go to school. Even though all the internationals, they have their own countries, they still pick up as the internationals.
Yes, but that also kind of is intentional by the school, though, because they do like a separate international orientation to kind of group us guys together. Like, it basically almost... Well,
but even after, but the thing is, it's just for orientation. But after that, you're not like.
But you already had a week to bond with everybody.
A week?
Yeah, a week.
So imagine like years and years and years. This is gonna be hard.
No, but
break.
This is
but
a
1 week.
A week of like intense, stressful period where you don't know anything, you don't know nothing, and it's kind of just all you know.
And then after you guys cannot see other and talk to other people after 1 week. Oh my God.
Decades.
I wonder if it's still like that now.
I don't know.
Parents might still let their children know that friendships are built in the
I'm surprised you talked to me. Now that I think about it.
The thing is, though, you're right that I always got put into those groups, but I felt like...
Did you feel like you had to say?
But it was never by choice. I always wanted to like socialize with Americans, but I kind of felt like they weren't really like interested in socializing. But internationals were the only ones that, okay, like we kind of hang out together.
But the thing is, Americans are so friendly. But
they're friendly on a surface level. And they're not trying to be your friend. They're like, if you need help, they'll help you out. They talk to you, whatever. But like, let's go hang out. Then they also kind of have the friend groups already, though.
So it's kind of like neutral ground. Like, okay, we all don't have a friend group, so let's bound together.
Yeah, kind of.
You know, they were giving advice to new internationals. Don't just click up. Go and talk to other people.
But again, they form you as guys like together. So it's like, oh, don't do it. But then they forcing you to do so.
It doesn't just happen in Dutch culture, right? It usually happens almost everywhere where a group of people have known each other for so long. It can be quite difficult for them to enroll new people who also come with different sets of temperaments and all that, especially when they're used to what...
It's like, okay, you know how I see this? Okay, you have your basketball crew that you love to play with. Y'all know your routine. New person come by, y'all scanning him. Let's not play with him. Let's not include him. If he's good,
well, I mean, yeah, but it takes like a couple of days. The person comes in and becomes one of the guys, though. Like it's already, so it's not like
that's if you guys are not intimidating.
But it's not. It doesn't take like years to like, oh, he's not, part
yeah, you say it's a week.
Yeah, it's like we come in for a week straight. Okay, you wanted us now. You know, we know your name. That's it. So it's.
They give you a new name.
in a way, and that's what I got, especially with my Dutch friends. Friends, but not their friends, in a way, yeah.
Now here's a detail that I keep coming back to because it captures the whole paradox in a single image. The open windows, no curtains, life on full display, everything visible from the street. When I started looking into the history of this, why this tradition exists, it turns out it traces back to Calvinism. That is a Protestant theology that shaped the northern Netherlands profoundly. The idea was rooted in moral transparency. If you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. The community can see you live, and by extension, so can God. It was not about warmth, it was about accountability. And what I find so interesting about that origin is what it reveals about the social contract underneath. The open window says, we will not hide from you. It does not say, come in. And those two are entirely different offers. Transparency and intimacy are not the same thing. The Dutch built a culture that is extraordinarily transparent and extraordinarily selective about intimacy. And somehow, in the same building, in the same wall of glass, both of those things are perfectly true at once. That tension is the thing I kept finding myself standing in. Not frustrated by it, just genuinely curious about it.
One of the most exciting things about Moana is the music.
I think when a migrant looks at the way Dutch friendships are being built, it might feel like very laborsome and inaccessible. And I guess that is a valid view. But it also comes with a context. I think if you focus too much on accessibility and a quick friendship, that what signifies a Dutch friendship might be one that is one where a lot of trust comes along and offers long-term mutual support. Feels like one that
Do you have any friends that are Dutch?
Predictable, maybe more so than an intense friendship.
Have you met anyone who's
And with
Dutch?
predictable, I mean that you can count on one another. If a friendship is built over a decade, it also
The
means
way you love the
that friend
Netherlands,
has
you
been
have not
around
made one
for ages.
Netherlands friend from the Netherlands?
Well, maybe they love their country and they don't leave, they stay there. I don't know.
So this means that I call upon my friends for support. Also very practical support. Maybe to give me an honest opinion or to help me move. This is something a lot of Dutch people
Angelina's
ask their
from
friends for.
Netherlands.
So I guess over years you prove a certain sense of loyalty. And yeah, maybe from an outsider perspective, you might miss some emotional intensity. But I think the reliability is what stands out for a Dutch person.
Now, I want to spend a moment in the science of this, because when you are living inside this experience, this slow, quiet, socially insulated kind of isolation, it's easy to treat it as a mood problem, an adjustment phase, something you should be able to think your way out of. But what the research shows is that something more structural is happening, and I find this research clarifying.
Wow.
That,
Wow. Interesting.
I believe it.
No, I do believe it, yeah, because we are social animals, right? So I don't dispute the fact. I just didn't realize it was that bad. I knew it wasn't good to be like isolated and lonely, but I didn't realize it's like that bad.
Because do you ever feel like you can be by yourself in the forest and just be fine?
By myself, completely no. I would need like if we as a family go, I would be fine. But like by myself, I don't think I think I'd go crazy. I think you do need like some sort of social interaction. I don't need a lot. I'm an introvert. I don't really like people like that.
So,
But
so if we're living in an apocalyptic era, you would have to keep me alive.
So the body and the brain are not passive observers of this experience. They are responding to it, adapting to it. And here's what I find most interesting about the neuroscience, because it explains something that I noticed in myself without having a name for it. When the brain registers social isolation, it activates the same threat detection system as physical danger, the same neural response. And the question is, what does a person in threat detection mode look like at a social gathering? Guarded, slightly over alert, harder to read.
That's kind of, they also say that why you shouldn't just let the baby cry it out, because they're feeling like loneliness, and that's not, it creates a stress in their body. So that's why when you hear a crying baby, you gotta run to the crying baby.
Harder to approach, which makes genuine connection less likely, which extends the isolation, which keeps the threat system running. The thing about that loop from a purely system perspective is that it's entirely logical. Every step follows the last. The environment produces a response. The response produces a behavior. The behavior reinforces the environment, and it runs quietly underground without you noticing what is really happening, which is probably why so many people in this situation feel stuck without quite being able to explain why. Now, here's where my specific situation adds a layer worth examining, because in 2024, a UK research organization called Leapers published a study specifically on mental health and social experience in freelancing. Think about what that variable introduces into this particular environment. In most social settings, even the Dutch ones, even with the closed circles and the long friendship timelines, there is a mechanism at work that most people don't notice: the workplace. Not as a place where you go to be productive, as a place where belonging forms accidentally. through proximity, through repetition, through the small shared moments that accumulate over months until one day you realize that you actually know someone.
So when I meet with people, we all come together with the same objective, working on the same project. And we build an intense bond for that specific project. And usually when that ends, even though I would feel fulfilled that I have really connected with these people on a very different level, immediately that contract ends and your paycheck or your invoice is paid, that connection severs in a way until you meet again for the next project. So I think you kind of really feel a bit of that difference, as you say, the scaffolding of working in an office job and being a freelancer. It's quite different in a sense, as I laid out. The office space gives already a community, and the freelancer work is more you have to actively build on it post being on set or working together. Yeah.
Organizational psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. The simple act of being around people repeatedly without any particular goal creates familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort. Comfort creates trust. That mechanism is for most employed people the engine behind their entire social world. As a freelancer, you don't have that engine. Every connection is intentional, deliberate.
Like I feel like that when we go to the gym, we see the same people. Okay, I remember.
I thought the same thing too. Yeah, when you go to the gym, you don't really talk to the people, but it's the same people all the time. So you kind of know them, right? Yeah.
Because that happened to me by accident. There's this one person in the gym I do not like, the one who doesn't wear shoes. I saw him at the supermarket, and since I saw him, I smiled. I'm like, what am I doing?
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing.
Is manageable.
Fake as fuck.
Provides enough ambience.
It's like, oh, I know you.
That some of it finds.
I don't know the man.
When you remove the accidental social scaffolding of the office and operate inside a culture where even the people with that scaffolding describe finding genuine connection as a slow, patient, years-long undertaking, you get a very interesting research question, which is, as it turns out, also just my life.
So when I first arrived, I have to say that I wasn't new to Dutch culture. I grew up around Dutch people. And so the framework wasn't that different for me because I grew up with them. I understood a bit of how Dutch culture and Dutch culture norms worked or operated. But I think there's a huge difference between what you encounter with Dutch people and how that social fabric actually really works. Yes, connection was difficult, but at the same time it wasn't difficult in the sense that because I already knew Dutch people, my best friend was Dutch. I already had Dutch friends, so I already had a bit of a roadmap into Dutch culture, but that didn't mean that because I was at the door that I was going to be let in, right? Because most of the friends that I had, they also grew up with other Dutch people, Dutch friends, and they had formed bonds that lasted decades before I was here. And so not necessarily that I was the outsider, but though they are warm and they are open to interact with you and all that, I felt a bit of the gap between,
Okay, so like you grew up in a small town,
Mm-hmm.
so and you left that small town. Do you
Yeah.
think if you go back to the small town that you would be accepted back in, or would you be treated as like an outsider
No, I think I'd be accepted.
immediately? Really?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
I think pretty quickly, yeah. It's still a familiarity of like almost 2 decades. I think I'd be accepted pretty quickly, yeah.
Experiences that you had with them and when you were away, that there wasn't a connection in a way that you were allowed into the friendship group, in a sense.
That's where I want to land, not with
I will say though, because I moved from my small town to the capital city, and I lived in the capital city for 3 years. I never felt truly accepted in the capital city though.
Why?
I just never felt like I
It's just the
belonged.
people different.
Yeah, people were different. I didn't feel like I belonged. I never did.
the verdict on Dutch
How
culture.
different
but
are
with
the
this thing that
people
this
from
investigation
the
keeps
city and the small town? What's the difference for you, would say?
It was different. It was
Mm.
different. More stuck up. Just wasn't my lifestyle now. I didn't like it.
pointing me toward. Move somewhere new, especially somewhere with a social culture as defined and self-contained as this one. Arrive carrying an identity that was built for a different environment. You were someone's oldest friend, someone's reliable colleague, someone who walked into a room and was already known, already placed. Not because you were exceptional, but because proximity and time did that work for you. over the years without you ever noticing that it was happening. And you got on a plane and all of that, the social proof, the reputation, the accumulated history of being known, it didn't travel with you. You arrived here carrying the same feeling of being a person with all...
I feel like this is like, I keep going back to the gym.
I mean,
Because when we switch gyms, we turn into nobodies.
No, but it's very similar principle, yes, like we just experienced because we moved and we switched gyms. Even though like they're not that far apart from one another, so we do see the same people occasionally, but like we basically in one gym we knew everybody because we went there for a decade, and in this gym we don't know nobody, and it's basically you're starting all over. What he's describing, we're like in that process where we don't know anybody, so it's like ground zero right now, you know, like
it's humbling.
Similar. But it's relatable.
But none of the contexts that made it so is legible to anyone here. What the Dutch social environment does in a very particular way, with its long timelines and its closed circles and its insistence that trust is earned slowly, is removing that shortcut. Back home, it was possible to feel the absence of deep connection with the warmth of surface connection, with the noise, with the comfortable and ambient belonging that comes from just being around people that recognize you. Here, that option is largely unavailable.
Coming from Ghana, which has a much thicker social fabric, your identity is quite, I don't know if you say ambient in a way, or vibrant. I don't know which word would fit it better, because you are carried by society in a way. It's easy to connect with people. I didn't have to really answer the question of who I was, because that answer was, reflected back to me by the people that were around me, whether it was family, the community at large, or even people that I met along the road. And it didn't have to be long interactions.
That's so true. Wow.
It was that vibrant in the connection that you had. And then here, it's a bit of a flip.
I think the only difference, what they're describing in the Netherlands versus like our situation, for example, is for us, like the process has been pretty quickly. We already know some people, it seems like in the Netherlands that process, like it's
in the new gym, we already knew some people.
Yeah, we do.
You did.
Well, because I've been there a little longer while you were, you were pregnant, and all that. But I'm saying it seems like in the Netherlands, like versus here, that process may be like a year.
Did the plot thicken because they realized you have a wife?
No.
Oh, I add no tea to you. Like, oh, that's a character.
Whatever.
Like, isn't that no? Because I feel like in my head, when I see people regularly and I notice something different, it's like a character.
Well, okay, I don't know. Nobody said anything.
Oh.
They're like, oh, you have a wife? No, I always wore a ring, so I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm saying it seems like here that process may be like a year, half a year, versus in Netherlands that same process might be a decade. So it seems like it's extenuated.
Coin in the sense that
I don't know if I'd be able to be okay living in some place like that after 10 years
I think maybe that's what happened to my sister in Spain and why she went back to Lithuania.
Wasn't your sister in the Netherlands too?
She did, but she left the Netherlands.
She left. She left the Netherlands.
But I think it was more so that she just didn't like the weather. And I think, she changed her mind about what she wanted to study, and she moved to Barcelona, so.
But I think if she was able to form like friends there, she would have stuck around longer. Because your sister, she's able to make friends. Like she had
some friends though, I think, because she flew back to hang out with them and like after like a half a year or something.
But it seems hard to like really feel like home in Netherlands.
I think the biggest issue for her was the weather, one, and then two was just the degree. Like she decided that's not what she wants to do, so she had to switch schools.
Would you want to break in like in a year and still feel now you don't belong? Because even like when you talk about me going over to Lithuania, you're hoping like, oh, when she comes, I hope she's able to like it, to maybe
it's always a worry that you might feel alone, like this is so concerning, because you don't know any, you don't speak the language, like of course that's a concern.
I try to interact, to build those connections, and because I don't get that reciprocated to me, it forced me to really dwell on exploring who then I was without all of that kind of cues, because I wasn't in a society where I was gonna get that reflection of
Yeah.
belonging in a way.
So you sit with the absence
for
instead.
me,
And I think, and
what happens is, okay, like in our first gym, when I already knew people, then other people knew the same people that I knew. It's easier to make friends, and it rolls like it's so easy.
Yeah, snowball effect.
It snowballs. But when you're like at ground zero and you know what it was like before, and you're starting at zero, you're like,
It's
it's
different. It's
different.
different.
But it's different also good because you could actually get stuff
Yeah,
done. And you're like, okay.
it's not necessarily
The end,
bad.
yeah, it's not
and
bad.
it's also like a challenge to yourself because you know you can
Mhm.
get into a comfort zone, so life gets
Mhm.
boring. There's a little challenging.
Yeah.
It's a little
So
bit.
it's good too.
I don't necessarily like. Of course, it's good, but again, I'm saying
There's an extent to it
it's
though.
good in our scenario. If it took 10 years, I don't know if it would be good. It's okay for us because it's like, you know, we've been like less than half a year, you know, we already know people, so it's like, okay, cool.
When you say know people, what do you mean by know people?
No, like there's
I
people
see
that
the
you
people.
talk to occasionally.
It's like one person.
Okay, people, right? Not
And
a
then some
wall.
and some.
You're not talking to a wall, you're talking to a person, so yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So like it is a little bit, but if you imagine if you go a decade without like
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like,
that's extenuating.
you know, my grandma, when she came over and she had to stay here a while, is trying to like, you know, see if she could live in the States. She got homesick.
I mean, I got homesick when I first came, yeah.
How long did it stay for you, homesickness?
Maybe like 2-3 years, yeah.
Wow.
What?
Nothing.
and this is what I keep coming back to at the end of all the research, all the history, all the neuroscience. I think the absence is asking a question, not a cruel one, but very precise. Who are you when nobody here knows your name yet? So the ducks live in glass houses, wide open to be observed, carefully selective about who enters. And I wonder sometimes if the lesson embedded in that, the thing that this culture is modeling, whether it intends to or not, is that the two things are not in conflict. That you can be fully visible, fully yourself, fully present, and still be thoughtful about who you let all the way in. Maybe the question isn't how to get through the wall faster. Maybe the question is what you build in the meantime and what you discover about yourself in the building.
Very interesting video.
Yeah.
Very
Got me
interesting
thinking a
video.
lot.
Yeah. Of course, he's talking about Netherlands because that's his situation.
No,
but
I took it bigger. Like, there's a bigger message there.
I think most of the countries are similar. Of course, some countries are more naturally like welcoming versus others. So like those, I think the differences between countries is just how long it takes. But I think that barrier to entry per se isn't everywhere. I think it's no, especially if you don't speak the language.
Wow.
That barrier is way, way, way bigger than like if you do speak the language, because language is important. Like even though like, you know, as I said, I think you guys said the stat 95-96% of the Dutch speak English. Still though.
The lady said they don't speak English to you. It's not for you.
No, like they speak English, they understand, so you will be fine. You can communicate, but you will never feel like you belong until you speak the language. And that is what it is. The moment you feel the language, I do think it is significantly easier to feel like you belong. Because if they talk shit about you and they think you don't understand, you clap back in the language and they're like, oh. So I think at that point you like, okay, I here, I arrived, I belong.
I see the comments.
Yeah, very good video, very good.
It was very professional too.
Yeah, how many subscribers he has? 17K. Wow, this felt like a 100, 200K subscriber type of video. Wow. Subscribe to his channel, guys. Very well done. A window that is always open, but a door that takes years to unlock. Man, you hit on the mark right there. I have many friendly colleagues, but they are not friends. In the Netherlands, you can work together very amicably for 20 years. Often when someone leaves, you never speak to that person again.
Wow.
Very interesting and insightful video. I'm Dutch myself, and in the past half hour, I learned a lot about my own culture. The observations are outstanding. A 79-year-old Dutchman speaking here. This was a fine, well-balanced, multifaceted discussion. As a 52-year-old Dutchman, I never realized the situation is a remnant of the verzuiling. Interesting point of view. I'm Dutch. My whole life I've lived within a 500-meter radius from where I grew up. And yet, after my high school friends each moved to different cities or countries, I found myself knowing almost no one other than the family I had here. I have an occasional chat with my neighbors, and I see my old friends a few times a year, but that is virtually all that remains of my old social lives. I get along with
Damn.
colleagues, but it never develops into friendship. For the last okay, this is okay.
Okay.
That was
What's anyways? Let's say
anyways, just some of the
Girl, come
okay.
on.
It was too much.
This is why you have no friends.
It was too much. Okay.
Hey guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. If you could like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, and as always, share as much kindness as possible.